Hunter, how close did you come to passing out during that harmonica solo?
The thing is, you can, with the harmonica, you make notes both by playing out and by breathing in. So you actually get to breathe if you play lots of dominant seven chords.
You cannot just play certain notes or else you'll run out of air.
Right, that's right.
I'll have to come up there and resuscitate me.
Like James Brown, yeah.
I have a question for Jenny. I wanted to ask, it's sort of a nuts and bolts question. Like, there's a lot of art, a lot of visual art galleries in Racine. But for me anyways, in my preferences, I feel like only a few of them consistently have work that I'm really impressed with. And so I was really excited when I came into Black Eyed Press and they had like this really stunning kind of above par art for what I'm accustomed to seeing in Racine. So I'm just curious how you got hooked up with Black Eyed Press and how that relationship started and everything.
Craigslist, actually.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I guess, well, I saw the post that Samir put up saying there's a print shop in Racine, and I thought, I like print shops, that's not too far away. I want to know about your print shop. So that's kind of how we got in touch, and that's how I ended up in this space.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on behind me. I was wondering, Laura, if you could tell us about what it is about the sort of the long form that is so attractive for you, or that sort of compels you to keep going, even though you seem to be working in a fairly lyric sort of mode, right?
Mm-hmm. I think it has a lot to do with my love of television and film. They're like my favorite things, I guess, besides reading poetry, to do, like to watch a really good television show and get really into it, or to like watch a really good film and just be totally absorbed. And that inspired me to try to write poems that could sustain a reader's attention for that long. With a novel, you have to put it down. Well, I guess you don't have to, but how often do you actually read a novel in like one sitting? I really wanted to write poems that resembled like the length of time that you would sit down and watch a television show. It's kind of like a challenge to myself to like, well, if people love TV so much, like maybe I can write poems that people will want to sit down and like experience the same way that you watch television. And in that same vein, I know you can't see it on the page from up and down here, but I try to like only have a little bit on a page at a time, so it's more like it's like a screen, and you like can turn the pages fairly often, so it's like you're watching something rather than reading it. So that's why.
Nice.
There's a question in the back there.
No, I just wanted to know about the painting on the end. I was here a couple of days ago. We were trying to figure out the branches of a head and the significance of that, and the person on the sofa.
Are you asking about the specific imagery?
Yes.
Or, in a way, it is very much, it's these two figures. They have this relationship between the two of them. But the significance of what's happening here and what I was discussing when I was up there is there's this interruption. You look at the figure on the left, it looks like a person. It very much has that quality of a figure, but you don't actually see a body in those clothes. And with the figure on the right in the chair, she's facing that individual, that form, but not able to look, and also not rooted to anything. It's a tree essentially without roots. So that's a large dynamic in the way that I work. Again, with the interdependence of wanting things to change but wanting them to stay the same, wanting to anchor down but not really having a way to anchor down, and almost making that connection, and almost having that shared moment but not quite. So that was kind of the beginning of the symbolism there. Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit how woodcutting works?
How woodcutting works? Yeah, so basically I have my large sheet of wood, and all of these are hand carved. So yeah, I take I have a set of tools that I work with, and wish I had my tools to show you, but basically I put the image on the block, and it has to be the reverse of what I wanted to print as, and what I don't want to print is what I cut out. So it's the opposite. Instead of, it's basically creating the negative of the actual finished piece. And then after that, that's when you ink it up and you're able to transfer that image. Yeah. Yeah.
Like a giant stamp.
It's like a giant stamp. Yeah, it just, yeah.
Danny, yeah?
I want to, okay, remember your name?
Kelsey.
Kelsey, where do you get most of your inspiration in your writing? That's saw a lot of energy coming out. And just where do you get your inspiration?
A lot of my poems are inspired by words. I have a love for words. Like I could be in class or reading something or hear somebody say something, and there'll just be a certain word that'll get stuck with me, and I might write down that word, and then a poem will just form around that word. So usually it's words. Words inspire me a lot. Just the forms of words, the meanings of words.
I love that answer. We can talk about that more later.
Your reclamation of Emily Dickinson.
I wanted to
Yeah.
ask Kelsey, just what, like at what age do you remember noticing that you were kind of really interested in words like that?
I've always loved to write ever since I was real young. When I was a kid, I used to write a lot of short stories, more than poems, little funny stories, or I used to write in a journal a lot, write little stories in there. And then also I was influenced by my brother and my mother, because my brother is a musician and my mother, she writes. So I guess that love came from them, reading things that they've written, especially my brother, going through his notebooks and things and reading things he's written was a big inspiration for me as a kid. So.
Any other questions, Rachel?
I have a question for the protest singer. I didn't know that anybody was doing that anymore. And I was kind of glad to hear that. But was that something you made a conscious decision to do, or was that something that just you found evolved into the things you were interested in writing?
It very much evolved. I started out really just playing blues, and then slowly started writing more personal songs, and the protest singer thing kind of snuck up on me, combined with sort of a gradual awareness of world events and changing perspective on them. I never tried to sound like Bob Dylan. In fact, I tried not to, but I was actually told, people told me that I sounded like him, and it bothered me for a while. But, it just kind of happened.
I'm guessing that was a compliment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I want to say a big thank you to our three performers. I want to say a huge thank you to Jenny for joining us and sharing with us today, our first artist. And I want to say a massive thank you to all you guys for coming. Let's give these guys